3 months ago, I found out my parents secretly transferred my entire inheritance to their new family, the same people who raised me, who tucked me into bed as a child, decided I no longer belonged. But what they didn't know was that my late grandmother had one final trick hidden inside a Swiss bank vault, a trick that would expose everything, their lies, their betrayal, and the truth about who they had chosen to replace me with. And when the bank officer slid that file across the desk, my world didn't just shift, it detonated. My childhood wasn't a fairy tale, but it wasn't a nightmare either. I grew up in a quiet suburban neighborhood with my parents, Michael and Sarah Bennett, and for most of my life, I believed they loved me. I was their only daughter, the miracle baby, as my mom used to say, until I wasn't. Things changed when I turned 25. That's when my parents met Angela, a widow who started attending their church. She had 2 children, Liam, 14, and Sophie, 10. My parents became obsessed with helping them. At first, I thought it was charity, kindness, something beautiful. But slowly, they replaced me. Mom canceled dinners with me so she could help Sophie with her school project. Dad forgot my birthday but remembered Liam's basketball tournament. At first, I brushed it off. I was busy building a life studying finance, moving into my apartment, working hard, but the shift was undeniable. The day Angela married my father. Yes, my father was the day everything collapsed, Olivia, Dad said, standing in our backyard during the reception, his hand awkwardly resting on Angela's waist. Your mother and I, we were over years before she passed. I just didn't know how to tell you. My mother, my real mother, had died from cancer only a year earlier. I stared at him, unable to breathe. And Angela is family now, Dad added. You'll learn to accept that. I tried. I really did. But I saw how quickly he stepped into the role of father to Angela's kids, how money I knew my mother had saved for me was now being spent on new clothes, private tutors, vacations, but nothing prepared me for the day I learned the truth. 3 months ago, I received a letter of formal notice from the Bennett Family Trust, the one created by my grandmother, Margaret Bennett, who was the only person in my family who ever made me feel genuinely seen. The letter said, all assets and privileges pertaining to your name have been updated. Please contact your trustee for clarification. Updated? Privileges? What did that even mean? I called the trustee Mr. Reynolds, a man who'd known me since I was 9. When his voice emerged on the phone, he sounded uneasy. Olivia, I think you should come into the office. So I did. I sat across from him as he opened a file. Your father submitted a request 6 months ago, he said gently, to transfer the primary inheritance benefits to Liam and Sophie. My heart stopped. He what? Your father claimed you were no longer participating in the family, and therefore, the inheritance was best allocated to the younger dependents. Dependents, like I didn't exist. I felt sick, and you approved it? I whispered. Your grandmother's U.S. trust structure allowed your father certain legal powers, he explained. I couldn't stop the domestic transfer. Domestic. That word lingered. Domestic? I repeated. As in, there's something international? Mr. Reynolds hesitated. There's a secondary vault, he finally said. In Switzerland. I blinked. What vault? He leaned forward. Your grandmother didn't trust your father. She set up a contingency fund, a hidden one that cannot be altered without your direct consent. My chest tightened. And it hasn't been touched? He shook his head. Not only untouched, but it contains something more important than money. Proof, documents, instructions. I felt adrenaline surging through my veins. Get me a ticket, I said. I'm going to Switzerland. The flight to Zurich was the longest 10 hours of my life. Every second was filled with questions. Why would my grandmother hide something overseas? What did she think would happen to me? Did she predict my parents would betray me? When I landed, I went straight to the Swiss Alpine Bank, a small, private institution with marble floors and gold accents that made me feel like I stepped into another universe. A banker named Elena Fisher greeted me in a calm, professional tone. Miss Bennett, we've been expecting you. She led me to a private room, placed a biometric scanner on the table, and asked me to press my thumb. The vault opened with a soft click. Exhale. Inside was a thick folder labeled, for Olivia only when she must know the truth. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside were documents, investment accounts, and letters addressed to me, from my grandmother. I read the first one aloud, as tears burned my eyes. My dearest Olivia, If you are reading this, it means the family has turned away from you. Just as I feared they would. Your father has always been weak-minded when it comes to validation. Angela saw opportunity in that weakness, and I knew she would take from you if she could. But I created this vault to protect your future, not just financially, but legally. Inside this file, you will find evidence of improper transactions, misappropriation of funds, and signatures forged under emotional manipulation. Present these documents only when you are ready. You, my dear, are stronger than all of them. Love always, Grandma Margaret. My breath hitched. Evidence? Forgery? Manipulation? Elena looked at me with sympathy. These documents are legally binding. If you choose to take action, your case would be airtight. I felt something settle inside me, not anger, but purpose. Revenge wasn't emotional anymore. It was strategic. I returned home quietly, secretly, with the folder secured in my bag. Before using the documents, I needed more evidence. I needed to see, with my own eyes, how far the betrayal had gone. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I visited my father's home, the home I grew up in. Angela opened the door. Fake smile plastered on her face. Oh, Olivia. It's been ages. I ignored the fake warmth. Is Dad home? You can come in, but he's with the kids right now. Her voice was laced with pride in replacing me. When I stepped inside, I heard laughter from the living room. My father was helping Liam with homework, the same way he used to help me. Dad, I said quietly. He turned. Oh, Olivia. Not sweetheart, not hi baby, just, Olivia. What are you doing here? Just visiting. Angela cut in. Is this about the inheritance? I froze. She smirked. You were never going to manage that money well. It's better used for children who appreciate family. Double quotes family.as if I weren't blood. As if I hadn't given everything to them. Something inside me snapped. You made your choice, I said. And now I'll make mine. I left before they could reply, but I heard her whisper as I walked out. She's jealous. Pathetic. I smiled to myself for the first time in weeks. If only she knew what was coming. 3 days later, I walked into Carter and Blake, law firm with the Swiss bank's documents. The head attorney, Jonathan Blake, examined everything carefully. After an hour, he looked up. Olivia, this is the strongest case of inheritance fraud I've seen in my career. Can we win? He gave a slow, confident smile. We won't just win. We'll bury them. The next few weeks were a storm. Jonathan and his team uncovered forged signatures on trust amendments Sunothersi. Withdrawal Silsigal fund transfers to Angela's personal account emails. Between Angela and my father, planning to phase Olivia out. Tax violations, wire transactions labeled off record. Every discovery was another stab in the heart, but also another weapon in my arsenal. Then came the day everything exploded. The court hearing. Dad, Angela, Liam, and Sophie sat on one side. I sat alone on the other. The judge entered. Stern and unreadable, Jonathan stood. Your Honor, we present evidence submitted by a foreign banking institution confirming that Miss Bennett's inheritance was not only mishandled, it was stolen. Angela shot to her feet. That's a lie. Jonathan slid a document forward. This signature? It's yours, Mrs. Bennett, and it authorizes the illegal transfer of funds. The judge adjusted her glasses. This appears extremely incriminating. Angela turned pale. My father stammered. I didn't know, but then Jonathan dropped the final bomb. A video recording Swiss bank verification of every forged signature, every misused dollar, every lie. The judge's verdict was immediate. All inheritance assets are to be returned to Miss Olivia Bennett. Additionally, punitive damages are awarded for fraud, emotional distress, and breach of fiduciary duty. Angela screamed. My father cried. I sat still. Justice, finally, was loud enough for me to hear. It took months for the funds to be returned, for the trust to be restored to my name, and for the legal penalties to hit Angela and my father. But the real peace didn't come from the money. It came from the final letter in the Swiss vault, the one I hadn't opened until everything was done. My sweet girl, revenge is only satisfying when it sets you free, not when it holds you hostage. Live boldly now. Live fully. And do not let them define your worth. Grandma folded the letter and smiled. Today, I moved into a new home overlooking the lake. A home I chose. A life I chose. A future no one can steal from me again. And as for my parents' new family, they moved out of the city after the scandal. I haven't spoken to them since. And honestly, I don't think I ever will. If my story struck a chord with you, please like, subscribe, and comment below. Would you forgive them or walk away? Your support helps me share more real stories just like this.